गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतः नः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ वृषभं च शनीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यं बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यम् ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिगिवचक्षुराततम् ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं महालक्ष्म्यै नमः। ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं ज्योतिर्ब्राह्माय नमः। ॐ everybody say after me, Hare Ramakrishna. ॐ हरे रामकृष्ण हरे रामकृष्ण हरे रामकृष्ण। Before I forget, I brought a little prasadam from the puja on Friday, Satnarayan Gatam. So before you leave, take a little bit. I didn't get any issue, so if you have them in the kitchen, get them. You will have it. What? Oh, Nakshatra. My bookie is actually that about. Ah, yeah. So where are we? 90. Oh, then we are in Shravana. Vishnu Nakshatra. I was hoping to cover something important before you came, because you said you will come at 9:50, but you came. You came before I started everything. 9:48. Okay. Okay, this is the mantra for the Shravana Nakshatra. So the Lord of Shravana Nakshatra is anybody? Shravana. Huh? Good guess. Shana, let us know. Vishnu, yes. Shravana is owned by Vishnu. That is why Shravana Nakshatra is considered one of the very auspicious nakshatras for many purposes. So this is a mantra for Vishnu as the ruler of the Shravana Nakshatra. Om Shrunvanti Shronamamrutasya Gopam Punyamasya Upasruno Mivacham Mahim Devim Vishnupatni Majurjam Pratiti Menam Avishayajama Pradha Vishnurugayo Vichakrame Mahim Divam Tusivi Mantariksham Tachonai Tishrava Ishamana Punyam Slokam Yajamanaya Krunvati. This is the mantra for the Shravana Nakshatra, especially for Vishnu as the ruler of the Shravana Nakshatra. And Graha mantra Utgraha are we on? Chandra is over, so next is Mangala. Okay, so today is Mangala. So the mantra, today we will do the Graha mantra for Mangala, for Mars. Om Agnir Mordha Deva Kakuspati Prithivya Ayam Apamre Tang Sijinvati. So that is the mantra for Angaraka. Any questions so far? Yeah. Actually, two charts I have been asking. Okay. One chart is the reverse case. The time I could not get the result.
two times what the first time you have given and what other time you have both are making sense. So I don't know which one to go.
Okay.
Second one was the Capricorn gave the divorce, but the Capricorn is a good guy. Narayan Dasha.
Yeah.
Capricorn Dasha was giving divorce. And then it is a good, Dasha is also promising them remarriage. So I don't know whether how it is.
Okay, so basically Saya thought you used to have some confusion. So you want to share the confusion with the class. Okay. Okay, we'll do that one. Can you give the data?
Right. April 20th.
April 20, 20, April 20, 1972. 1972. 8:02 p.m. April 22. For the tour. I think somebody else, you yourself are for the tour.
Actually, my sister friends all are
I see. Okay. Oh. Actually, so many divorces these days. Actually, sir, most of the charts that I have seen, 80% of the charts I have seen in the last 2 months are divorces.
So actually, these people are born in the same place within 1 month.
Well, Kali has been there for many thousands of years and will be there for many thousands of years. But somehow these days there seem to be a lot of divorces, including in India.
Yes, because these people are 4 friends, all are divorced.
Okay. So 4 friends of your sisters are divorced, but that's okay. We will not see why from your sister's chart. We will not do all that, but we will see this particular chart. So the data, is it the given time?
Yes, this is the given.
Not your expired time.
No.
Okay, so the data for recording is April 20, 1972, 8:02 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Prabdatur, India. That is 78 degrees 33 minutes east, 14 degrees 44 minutes north. If you are wondering why his name sounds familiar, Prabdatur, the name where a celebrity was born. Naram. Okay. What is the name? How should I say it? Sarita. How do I spell it? S-A-R-I-T-A, T-H-A. T-H-A, okay. Sarita, Ramakrishna, sister's friend. Huh? One of the?
Fraction is
Oh, it's a which district is Which is district is it? Kadapa. Oh, I keep hearing Kadapa in all the movies. Okay. Now, boy, Lagna is on the edge of Libra. You see, Lagna is at 29 degrees, 13 minutes, 15.6 seconds in Libra. So that means basically 47 minutes away from the border. And in terms of time, when will Lagna change time in Rashi? 3 minutes, 24 seconds later it will change. So, we are not really safe. Definitely there can be 4 minutes later. It is not impossible at all. They may have rounded up. When I say rounded up, I am not talking about the calculation language of rounding up. But they may have made some small mistake in noting the time. So, let us see if Libra makes sense or let us see the Scorpio, one of the two. And Navamsha, how much Libra we have? Backwards? 11 minutes. 11 minutes, 8 seconds. Assuming that this is reasonably accurate, not wrong by like 15 minutes, this is also possible. Assuming that this is reasonably accurate, what we have here is either the last Navamsha of Libra or the first Navamsha of Scorpio. Because for it to change to Scorpio, we need 3 minutes error. And then for it to change from the first Navamsha of Scorpio to the second Navamsha of Scorpio, it will be another 14 minutes. So we have 17 minutes. So it's unlikely to be the second Navamsha of Scorpio. So either is the first Navamsha of Scorpio or the last Navamsha of Libra, and there is a remote chance that it is not the last Navamsha of Libra but the one previous to that. So that is also a possibility, but let's focus on the two Navamsha. So what are those? So either Rashi has Libra Lagna and Navamsha has Gemini Lagna, or Rashi has Scorpio Lagna and Navamsha has Cancer Lagna. These are the two possibilities on which we will focus. Okay? Now, what do we know? 1 minute. Actually, let me note down. from a fraction group.
And
That's what you said.
that area of substitute is
Oh, I see. Okay. Let's see now. Come to the point. Okay. What do you know? Okay. So what do you know?
He is very good. Like she was very intelligent. 10th class.
Somebody is usually intelligent, they are intelligent for life, not during the studies and then become unintelligent. Okay, intelligent. During
10th class he
study.
got very
Uh-huh.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
10th class he got the rank.
Oh, 10th class rank holder.
She is an engineer of electronics. Yeah, she is electronics.
If she was rank holder in the 10th class, if she was in the top 10 in state, probably she will do some engineering or medicine. Engineering
Yeah,
in electronics. Electronics engineering. When is first in college?
Even master software electronics and software university.
Oh. One second. Masters in
Electronics.
electronics. First in university. Okay.
She is working in a wireless,
In a wireless
like telecom, wireless software development.
wireless telecom software development. Okay.
And got married in
That is the most important thing. Yeah. Got married in
1997.
when? When in 1997?
In May 1997.
May 1997. Okay.
And divorced in June 2005.
Oh, divorce is over. 8 years of marriage. Okay.
No kids. He's short and good.
Short and good looking. Okay. Anything else? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. This is enough. We have a lot of information. So she was an intelligent student, and she was a student. She was first in her college in electronics engineering and first in her university. She was the topper in her university in masters. Again, that was in electronics. And then she is working in software development at a wireless telecom kind of company, a wireless related software development. She got married in May 1997 and she divorced in June 2005. Now we want to first thing we want to do is rectify the Rashi and Navamsa at least, and then we'll go from there. And then whatever questions we have, whatever confusions we have, we will dig into them better. First, let us try to independently rectify. Okay? Okay. Okay, he thinks that because he is good looking, Libra Lagna, he thinks that Libra Lagna people are usually not good looking.
Yeah. But no, also women have in 8,000.
Yeah.
Elegant style in Scorpio is in 7,000.
Okay. Good.
One angle because you can start in good looking.
Yeah.
Venus can be in 8,000, that is
Okay. So, pardon me? Good for this. I will not give any symbol for this one. You find short people and tall people in all Lagna. But there are some guidelines. For example, typically if you take Virgo for example, Virgo Lagna people are usually not very tall. Of course, I'm not very short, I'm Virgo, but usually Virgo Lagna people are a little fat, not very fat, but little fat, a little short, not very tall. And if you take, for example, Taurus, Aries Lagna people, they have big heads. If you take Leo Lagna people, they can be short, but they will be stout. Pisces Lagna people, they will be very fleshy. Like that, there are some criteria given in classes, but it's not really reliable. But if you look at the nature of the planets influencing Lagna and Aru Lagna, that can give you an idea. And some planets show very thin frame. For example, Saturn will show people who are very thin. And if you take Mars, for example, he shows people who are well built. And if you take somebody like Venus, he will give big eyes, etc. But short and tall to associate planets and signs is not very easy. So we take that easy. But Typically, Libra Lagna people are typically tall. Not, there is obviously the short people in Libra also, but typically Libra Lagna people are tall. So like, well, I have seen a lot of people with Libra Lagna who are very good. And if I say Libra Lagna people are not visiting, if my wife somehow listens to this, she will kill me. Yeah, see, anyway, let us leave Libra Satya from that point of view. Let us generally look at the divorce that happens. Marriage and divorce are big events. They are more useful than looks and the tallness, how tall she is. So let us look at the marriage. What dasha should we apply? Again, we have a little bit of problem here. Okay. What dasha should we apply? Assuming it is Libra, what Lagna? What dasha? Yes. Chaturthi Samadasha will apply if the Lagna is Libra. On the other hand, if Lagna is Scorpio, let us say, what will apply?
7th Lord is
7th Lord is, okay. Wait. 7th Lord is 7. What will apply? What dasha? Nothing. Okay. Now what else is Lagna? Huh? Okay, what dasha will apply? See, 7th Lord is in 7th is inconsistent, but somebody else is in 7th house. Look carefully. Not Lagna Lord in 7th house. That's what you have said. Instead of 7th Lord is 7th Samadasha, 72-year-old equal dasha. So, either Saptati Samadasha with Scorpio Lagna or Chaturthi Samadasha with Libra Lagna. Has it been just one dasha? We could have compared, okay, this versus this. This is a little complicated. You have to choose between this dasha and this side, this dasha and this side. A little complicated, but this happens when you are explaining sometimes, especially in the Rashi side. Pardon? Why, that's a good idea too. You can just look at m4a, but what if m4a is not doing it? Okay, so it means that Rashi will be constant. If it is Libra versus Scorpio, it will change too. The progression will change, the starting time will change, everything will change. So there is no difference between using Chaturthi versus Viprasati or using Narayan Dasha with Libra versus Narayan Dasha with Scorpio. So let us stick to the Nakshatra Dasha. Let us see. We can switch between the dashas. It's not a big deal because we have software. If you have to manually calculate different dashas, not knowing which one will apply is a little bit of headache. But here it's not a headache. So let us first let us look at Chaturthi Samadasha. Actually, let us look at Scorpio first.
So, 7th Lord and 8th house
Divorce? Maybe. So, good point. So, his thinking is 7th Lord is in the 8th house. If you take Libra Lagna, so that gives an unsuccessful marriage and probably a divorce. What about Libra then? What about Scorpio then? The 5th Lord is in 7th house. That can also give trouble to marriage. So, that's not basically a clincher. We want a clincher. So, I switched to the Scorpio Lagna just to see if that makes sense. And I opened Saptati Samadasha, and the time she was married was, she got married in May 97. So that was basically Mercury Dasha. Mercury Dasha, Jupiter Antardasha, she got married. Okay? And when did she get divorced? 2005, in June or July, you said.
Yeah.
So that is basically after the Mercury Dasha, which means Jupiter Dasha it must be, right? Yeah. Jupiter. So Mercury Jupiter gave her marriage, Jupiter gave her divorce. Now, is Mercury capable of giving marriage? How do you think Mercury is? In the Rashi chart, he is the 8th Lord in the 5th house, 8th and 11th Lord in the 5th house, having Argala and Upada. Okay. In the Navamsha, he is basically the 3rd and 12th Lord in the 4th house. In the 9th from Upada. Not really any strong link. Things that make you say, yes, that's it. Right? Maybe. So if there is a need to consider this, we will come back. But for now, we will undo this change. I hope undoing goes back to after phase state, because otherwise I change the date, enter the date right. If it loses everything, at least I'm not sure how I program it. So it's programmed right. So we go back to the original time, 8-2, that is Libra Lagna, Gemini Navamsa. Now let us see what Dasha it is. Now what is the Dasha we should be using? Chaturasiti Samadasha. No? Chaturasiti Samadasha. 84-year-old people Dasha. So in this Dasha, what Dasha gave marriage and what Dasha gave divorce? No.
Last action.
This button is there, right? Undo all birth time changes. I have done only one thing, undo the latest birth time change, but I click undo all birth time changes. When I click that, I wasn't sure, because first when I opened it, it was a new chart, today's time. And then I changed the date, time, everything. And then I changed it from 82 to 85 something, right? So I wasn't sure whether it would undo all the changes and take it to today's time. In which case I have to re-enter all the data. I was concerned about it, but apparently it changes to the latest date time. Because I saved it. Okay, anyway, leaving your programming details aside. So Chaturasiti Samadasha wise, Moon Dasha gave her marriage. Moon gave her marriage and not Moon. 97 May, right? Moon Jupiter gave her marriage. Moon and Jupiter gave her marriage. And who gave her divorce? I mean, her husband obviously gave her divorce, but which planet made her husband give her divorce? The next Dasha, Mars. And Antardasha was Mars itself. So Mars didn't need anybody else to cooperate with him. Just Mars was enough to give divorce. Okay. Now, do these events make sense? At least make more sense than what the previous case showed with the Satya Lagna and Chaturasiti. Does it make sense? Is Moon Jupiter capable of giving marriage? Moon Dasha. Is it capable of giving marriage? Does Moon have anything to do with 7th house or... He has Rashi Drishti in the Navamsa chart. Okay, let us stick to Navamsa for now. The main chart is Navamsa. So in the Navamsa, the 7th house of marriage has Rashi Drishti by Moon. Pardon me? Jupiter owns the 7th house. Jupiter is the 7th lord in the 3rd house. Even though he is in Manakarka Sthana, he is basically a Kamatrikona lord in another Kamatrikona. And more importantly, he is the 7th lord. And Moon, apart from having Drishti on the 7th house, does he have it? And of course, he has Argala on the 7th lord. He has an influence on the 7th lord Jupiter. Does he have any other link to marriage? Not one. Occupies. He occupies UL. So not only does he aspect the 7th house, but he occupies UL and he is with Ketu. Even though you say Ketu eclipses Moon and all that, here Ketu is basically one of the Karakas for marriage. Venus and Ketu are the Karakas. So he is with one of the Karakas, he is in UL and he is aspecting 7th house. So Moon is certainly capable of giving marriage, right? And he is the dispositor of Venus, the other Karaka of marriage. So he has a link with both the Karakas of marriage and he has a link with 7th house and 7th lord. More importantly, he is in UL. But honestly, forget, suppose you didn't have access to this Dasha list, you didn't know when was what Dasha. You were just guessing which Dasha could give marriage. Would you have picked Moon? He is a candidate, but is he the strongest candidate? Who is the strongest candidate here? Jupiter, 7th lord Jupiter. Jupiter is the 7th lord, so you would think that he is the strongest candidate. And of course in Rashi also, he aspects the UL. He aspects 7th house, Graha Drishti, he has a desire to give marriage. And UL, he has a desire as well as Rashi Drishti, the opportunity to do so. So, and in Navamsa, he is the 7th lord. So clearly you would have picked Jupiter. But what you have to remember, I told you earlier also, when you are picking Mahadasha, don't expect the best candidate to show up, because his Dasha may be coming at the age of 50 years. And people usually don't wait that long to get married. So, in that case, the main Graha, the most important Karaka, the most important planet to give an event, he will come in the Antardasha level, not necessarily at the Mahadasha level. At the Mahadasha level, if the planet is reasonably a good candidate, that is mostly sufficient. Yes, yes. I'm not saying Moon is a weak candidate, but if I were to pick the stronger one, my honest judgment was that Jupiter was a stronger candidate to give marriage in this case than Moon.
But Jupiter was not making any sense. What takes that?
Sometimes it can make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense when a Nakshatra Dasha, other Nakshatra Dasha is applicable. We'll go back to Vinshatri later, but let us stick with this because this is supposed to work. That may or may not work. That will work, but the thing is, not the strongest candidate will show up. Weak candidate will show up as single one. So that's the problem with using Vinshatri Dasha all the time. So let us just stick to this. So Moon Jupiter, does it make sense? So we are happy that this particular Moon Jupiter period gave marriage, and the Antardasha was, Pratyantardasha was also, when did you say, 97 or 98? 97 May, right? So it was Jupiter. As long as Jupiter came, his Antardasha came, within his Antardasha, within his Pratyantardasha, the seventh lord gave marriage. So this all makes sense. Now, divorce. Why did divorce happen? When did the divorce happen, you said? 2005 June. March. Is March capable of giving marriage? I mean, giving divorce? March is the? Yeah. That can show some problem. Being in the 8th house, he gives some anxiety, some tension to the person. And being the 7th lord, it can be because of marital, it can be marital tension. And I think he, pardon me? Yes, it's not just marriage, perfect, very good. So 7th lord in the 8th house in general shows fighting with people, not necessarily fighting, but anxiety on account of relationship with people. It may or may not be just marriage, it may be at work. There may be problems in relationship with some colleagues. That is also possible. But definitely, marriage also is possible. But if you look,
Sometimes second and seventh are always marked up.
Yeah.
So depending on the second position from seventh.
Yeah.
This is second from seventh.
Yeah.
So that can give a break of 3 7.
Oh, from the 7th house you are saying. Yeah.
That is in Navamsa, not in the Rajika.
Rajijat also, some break in some relationship is possible. Not necessarily marriage. Not necessarily marriage. Some relationship break is possible. But the thing is, if the lord of a sign is in the second from it, he is not a strong marker. If Lagna lord is in second house, don't think that he is a strong marker. He is a very weak marker. You understand what I am saying? His agenda, Lagna lord's agenda is to protect you. He is the giver of your vitality. If he is in the second house, if he is in the second house and 7th house, you are telling him to kill, but his job is to protect you. So he is unlikely to kill you. On the other hand, if 8th lord is in 7th house or 3rd lord is in 2nd house, there is a stronger case to kill. Lagna lord, wherever he is unlikely to kill. Similarly, 7th lord, wherever he is unlikely to kill the relationship. He will kill only if there are other combinations. As far as he is concerned, being in a Markasthana, he will only give some problem. So here, what we can say about Mars in the 2nd house from 7th house is he can give some trouble in the marriage, some anxiety on account of marriage. You were saying something about Venus.
Venus is the captor of marriage.
Yes. Now the thing is, Venus and Mars are together. Is that a good combination? Not good. I mean, Venus, the Karaka for marriage, the Karaka for harmony in marriage, he is with Mars. He is with basically enemy. Mars is the Karaka for fight, Karaka for break. Basically, Karakatva wise, ownership wise, he owns the 7th house. But Karaka wise, he is totally anti-Venus. Venus is in one house. Venus is in one house. It will have less effect, but still Mars being there is not desirable. And the clincher, of course, is Navamsa. In the Navamsa, if you see, what is Mars? Again he is afflicting Venus. And who is stronger here in Navamsa?
Venus is stronger than Mars. Mars is dedicated.
Yeah.
So it's still the captor of marriage.
Conjoined Mars. Karaka of marriage conjoined Mars. Mars is not really strong, but he has Nika. Venus is just in a normal house. For him there is nothing special about Cancer. But for Mars, Cancer is a very important house. He is dedicated there. He is pissed off, he is angry, he is, oh my God, what is going on? He is like that. Such a Mars, you can argue, is not actually weak but very strong in a very negative way. It is like basically a bull that has been tied down. You basically bend its head and you put the bull like this. So such a bull, if you are next to that bull, when his time comes, until then he will be unhappy. Why did they put me like this? And then when the time comes, he will get a break and then just hit you. So this debilitating Mars is like that, Nita Mars. And when does his time come? When his Dasha comes, or when his Antardasha comes. And here, in 2004 January, his Dasha came. So even though they divorced in 2005, from February 2004, they must have been fighting a lot. Not that they didn't fight earlier, but from that time, fights should have been very serious. Because Mars. Mars is the fifth lord. Now the other thing, not only is it the Karaka fifth house restricting Venus, but functionality wise also, is the sixth lord here. Mars is the sixth lord, right? So being the sixth lord and being with Venus, and what Arudhas does
He also lost 8.
Okay, he lost 8, and what Arudhas he occupies? A6 and A11. Of those, A6 will show a tangible quarrels, fights, litigation, court case, all those are shown by A6. Relating to marriage, relating to dharma, because it is Navamsa. So when Mars comes, litigation is possible, court case is possible, lot of physical fights are possible, lot of tension basically. So now, does this make more sense or what we saw earlier make more sense? This makes 100 times more sense. So our guess that Scorpio may be right because she is good looking, she is not right. So some Libra people are also good. And she is Vishakha Nakshatra. Vishakha Nakshatra and Navamsa Lagna is Gemini.
And in the holistic astrology, they say that Scorpio people tend to be short.
Typically, that is good looking. I don't really know. Scorpio Lagna people can have good looks as well as crooked looks. Both are possible. But being short is a good possibility. Somebody is Scorpio. Yes. And if it's Libra, typically they are tall. But I have seen Libra people who are not that tall also.
When you say that Scorpio people are secretive or they do...
Yes, usually they are secretive. Scorpio is a Lagna. You never fully understand that person. There is something about that person that is hidden away from you. Probably hidden away from you. That person's spouse also. There are some aspects of the person that are quite secretive. Not in a negative way. Maybe positive or negative. Depends. But they are not what they come across as being. So that is the thing with Scorpio Lagna people. Here, she is a Libra Lagna person. So in general, Libra Lagna people are very balanced, very diplomatic, nice. They are on their best behavior. Maybe not with the spouses, as I can tell. My wife is Libra Lagna. I'm just kidding. But in general, Libra Lagna people are good at PR, good at relationships, maintaining relationships with people. In general, they are good. Very diplomatic people. Balanced. Very balanced. Okay, what else can we say? Actually, we missed one particular point. When Moon gave the marriage, not only is he in the UL in Navamsa, but if you look at UL in the Rashi chart, he has Argala on it. Moreover, he is the second lord son. Second lord in the second house. So, we said earlier, do you remember, who do you pray to for getting married? The second lord from UL. He is the one who brings the marriage. So, second lord from UL is in one house. Even though he is with Ketu, Ketu is the Karaka, so it's not a big problem. So Moon is actually, given this also, this point I missed. So Moon is actually a quite decent candidate to give marriage. So even Mahadasha is actually quite decent here. So anyway, so a very reasonable Dasha and Antardasha gave marriage, and a very reasonable Dasha and Antardasha gave divorce. So we are happy. But this Rashi and Navamsa are there. She belongs to Vishakha third padam. Her rising point, Lagna, she is in Vishakha third padam. Now, Narayan Desai.
Yeah, no, that's something I looked at Vinchotri, and I couldn't...
Vinchotri was confusing, okay.
I couldn't make sure that which Lagna will make sense, like we have in the beginning.
So you did not use the Chaturthi Samradasha? Okay. Good. So if you use the Vinchotri, let us just honestly analyze Vinchotri Dasha. Quite honestly. Pardon me?
Ketu Dasha.
Okay, Ketu Dasha gave her marriage as well as divorce.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Ketu
Oh, sorry. Ketu gave divorce. Mercury gave marriage. What Antardasha? Mercury, Jupiter. See, again, Jupiter is showing up. So it's not that bad. Vinchotri is not that bad. Right? Jupiter, the 7th lord, Antardasha is coming again. But the Mahadasha is that of Mercury. And well, now with this particular Lagna, he is Lagna Lord in Navamsa. I'm looking at marriage. 97. Another special is that. That's okay. So, she got married in Mercury Jupiter. And Mercury is the Lagna Lord in Navamsa. Of course, in the Rashi chart, he is in the 6th house, not really that great, even though he is the 9th Lord. But the thing is, he is Jewel Lord. And in Navamsa, he is the Lagna Lord in the 5th house. So he is not that bad. And Jupiter, as we have seen, he is the 7th Lord, he is in the 3rd house, and so on. In the Rashi, he has aspect on the Jewel. So it's not really bad at all. It looks quite reasonable to me.
UL A6 but we won't even A6 as well.
Who? Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? In the Rashi, UL, A7 and A6 are all together. That is not a really pleasant combination. Yeah.
And also,
You are right. He owns A6 as well as UL. So he can give relationship A7, relationship UL, marriage, A6, fights and quarrels with people, misunderstandings, all those things. But at the same time, in the Navamsa, if you see, he is the Lagna Lord. He is the Lord of A9. He is in the 5th house. He is not at all a bad planet. So Mercury is. He can give quarrels also, but they may be in some other area. As far as Mercury Dasha is concerned, he is likely to give marriage. So Mercury Jupiter giving marriage is not really a bad thing. Yes. Yes, he is in Managagasthana. But what you have to realize is, he is the 7th Lord in the 3rd house. A Kamatrikona Lord in another Kamatrikona. So it's not really that bad. Even though he is in Managagasthana, Kamatrikona Lord is Kamatrikona. So usually when you have a Kamatrikona Lord in a Kamatrikona, it's conducive to marriage. And more importantly, his job is basically to do marriage. So Jupiter is fine here. And if you take the UL in the Rashi chart, it has Jyothishya. So Jupiter is a fine candidate. Mercury is not as good a candidate as Moon. Mercury is a reasonable candidate too. So Mercury Jupiter giving marriage makes decent sense. How about divorce? When did divorce come? 2005, June. Ketu Rahu. Ketu Dasha, Rahu and Dasha, divorce came. Is it possible?
Ketu is against 6th Lord and
Yeah, Ketu is the other 6th Lord along with Mars. Even though he is one of the Karakas, by functionality he is the 6th Lord. And Rahu, he is the 9th Lord in the 10th house. And he gives divorce? Not really. Rahu giving divorce doesn't make a lot of sense. But the previous Antardasha of Mars giving lot of fight. When Ketu Mars runs, Ketu Dasha, Mars Antardasha runs from 2004 February 14 till 2004 July 30. That is a terrible time. So as we saw, Mars was running as per Chaturthi Samdasha, but of course that was longer. That was from 2004 January 30 till a couple of years. And here, based on this, 2004 February to July, that is when Ketu Mars is running. So at that time, they both Dasha Lord and Antardasha Lord, as per Vinchotri Dasha, as well as Chaturthi Samdasha. 2 Dashas, 2 levels, Dasha and Antardasha. 4 planets. All of them are 6th house owners in the Navamsa. So can you say that those 6 months would be the time when they will be like fighting like crazy? So that time must have started everything. That must be the trigger. Even if they were fighting from long back, that time must have really triggered serious misunderstandings and serious fights. The thing is, if this person came to you before this period, you could have given some remedy, say to Subramanya, Mars, things like that. If she is like, who knows? If she is lucky, it may have saved. At least if the person knows that during this time there is a predisposal to fighting. It will be like this for a while, for 2 years. After that, it's a little better. If people know that, sometimes, even though plan is agenda is to give a divorce, it may just give sight and leave the child. It may not give a divorce. For example, one lady came to me sometime couple of weeks back, and she asked me, she wanted to file divorce. She asked me whether she should file divorce. I told her, even if you file divorce, even if you get married, she said, I'm unhappy. I'm just looking for some happiness in my life. I said, you will continue to be like this for the next 15 years. I honestly told her. Because that is how it seemed to me. There's no point in lying. Yeah, get divorced, next marriage will be fine. Because she is running a bad data. So she will continue to be unhappy. So I said, it's basically your problem, not just your husband's problem. You have a karma like this, you will continue to be unhappy. So you want to get divorced, good luck. Fight for it, but it will be like this. So if you just keep on going like this, at least after a couple of years, things will get much better. Even though until 16 years you will not be fully satisfied, things will be better after 2 years. So my advice is just to keep on going and then do so and so prayer. When I told her, then she decided. She talked to her and she basically decided, okay, I'll just go through with it. If it's going to be like this, I'll just go through with it. I made some corrections to them in the past, so she has some belief that this will be right. So she decided, okay, I'll take this. So like that, sometimes people, if they come to you before such bad dasyas or antadasyas take their toll on their life, you can help them. You can be honest, you can tell them, you can either like I did in this case, or you don't have to be so blunt. If you know the person, you can be blunt. If you don't know the person well, you can be a little more diplomatic. But the thing is, you can try to manipulate, not in a negative way, but try to manipulate their action so that the negative result that the planet is anyway going to give is minimized. In this case, Mars is the 6th lord in Navamsa. When Mars comes, there will be either big fight, those two people will be yelling at each other like crazy, pushing them, all those things are possible, or going to court and getting a divorce. It is very tough to say which one. There are various grades in which 6th house results and 8th results can be given. Who knows? You can hope for the best. And if you pray and if you give the right advice, maybe the best will happen. That is where we astrologers have some positive role to play in society. So coming back, this is a terrible period. Based on Vishwatri as well as Chaturthi Samdasha, these particular 6 months are really terrible. But Rahu Antardasha giving divorce does not make a lot of sense. Of course, he is in the 7th house from UL in Navamsa, right? He is in the 7th house from UL in Navamsa. From UL in Raki, he is in the 8th house. So there is some chance. 6th Lord in 7th from UL, taking marriage as Lagna. And Raki, if you take UL as Lagna, he is the 9th Lord of protection in the 8th house of withdrawing the protection to the marriage. So there is some chance. But the thing is, we couldn't have predicted, okay, Rahu, that's it. Rahu and the Dita is the one which will give divorce. Like that, honestly speaking, before knowing the event, we couldn't have predicted. Whereas Mars, if somebody told me this person got divorced, when? In the last 5 years they got divorced. When? I probably would have guessed Mars Dasha, and I would have probably guessed either Mars Dasha or Ketu Dasha. So those are more clearer. So here Vishwatri is working, but not as crystal clearly as the Chaturthi Dasha. Yes. Maybe that's right. Maybe I have a different time answer. No, I don't. Let's go to the bottom of it. What is the time you have? 8-2? Pradatur? Which Pradatur? Are they? Okay, let's go to basics. What is Moon's Lagna? Time is off?
Technically, you didn't do you moved the Lagna to the Scorpio.
No.
But then when you came back, no. It is right, 205, that's what it is.
205 Lagna doesn't change to Scorpio.
805. 805, he didn't do the undo.
Oh, instead of 802, he has 805.
You do the undo.
Yeah, then it may be the undo.
We have to take a time to people who give it to go.
Yeah.
We have to take a good time to go.
So, if he got divorced in this period, if he got married in this period, the time is basically right. We don't know for a fact that it's right. What do we know? That it's basically not more than 3 minutes 24 seconds forward and not more than, not 2 hours. Let's go now. Navamsa, before will say. Not, it is not forward by more than 3 minutes 24 seconds, not backward by more than 11 minutes 8 seconds. So we have a 14-minute window. So this is not really good enough if you want to predict other things in life. But as far as career, marriage, etc. are concerned, I think we are fine. Why did I say marriage? Career? Because career is 3-degree window, marriage is 3-degree 20-minute window. If we confirm this 320 window, the 3-degree window is probably the same. Right? Probably. Because in the end, if you, that 11 minutes we said, if you see the leeway we have, 3 minutes 24 seconds forward, it will be the same for Dashamsha. The backward, instead of 11 minutes 8 seconds for the Dashamsha, it will be something like 10 minutes 5 seconds or something like that. So we know that Navamsha and Dashamsha are accurate, right?
Can we see that she has a second color?
Yeah, we can see that. We can definitely see that. But before we do that, I wanted to see her career. Does it make sense? Pardon me?
Why I said because it is intelligent education, even because she is not successful
In her job, I see. So the interesting new point he gave is not successful in career, marriage also. Not successful in career. So that is why apparently he said she was intelligent when she was studying. Well, she may be still intelligent, but being successful has sometimes nothing to do with how intelligent you are. A really dumb person can be very successful. He can be the CEO of the biggest company in the world, and the most intelligent person may be sitting in a cave. You never know.
When we said it came to him before they were to play question mark.
Yeah.
But one thing continuing to
Not strengthened. Basically. Yeah. Not like wearing a red coral or something. It will be disastrous. But
So in seeing here,
doing puja. Yes.
do puja to Shanmugha.
Shanmukha, Hanuman.
In that case, we are saying to somebody who is satisfied mark.
Yeah.
My question that's confusing to me is, when you wear gemstone,
Yeah.
if you say wear a red coral, you say that going to be disastrous. So that is for mark.
Yeah.
You say doing that is disastrous.
Yeah.
You are going to increase the chance of not being to that.
Yeah.
Whereas when you still do the same thing that you pray to somebody whom
Yeah.
for the mark, why is it negative? Why is the difference of between wearing gemstone and doing mantra? It seems to be completely opposite.
Right.
No, it seems to be a different approach here.
It's a different approach. When you are doing something like gemstone or something, it is basically like giving a bribe to an officer and then asking to, actually it's not even like that. If you are wearing a gemstone, because planet has no reason to be happy. If you wear red coral, why should Mars be happy? Whereas, one second, let me finish my thought. If you are praying to a god, so my analogy was actually wrong. If you are praying to Mars, please save my marriage, like this. If you are praying to Mars, the fifth lord, it is like giving a bribe. Giving a bribe to the officer who is basically going to do some harm, so that he won't harm you. Yeah, harm you to a lesser extent. So what I am saying is, even though praying is sattvic, if you are praying and asking for a particular result, that is again rajasic. So it's not just rajasic versus sattvic. If you are sattvic, you won't ask for anything. You just pray to Mars, and Mars will say, well, the best idea is to give him divorce, so that the previous karma is over, so that he starts on a clean slate in the next life. So he will just give his result. So still you are praying, so your bank balance, it adds to your bank balance for future. So you just do good karma without any expectation. That is sattvic. Whereas if I pray, Hanuman, please save my marriage, or Shanmukha, please save my marriage, he will say, he may save your marriage, but actually whatever prayer you are doing is being used for undoing some previous karma. Okay? But wearing gemstone is is a totally different thing. If you are wearing gemstone, it is basically like it's not like giving a bribe or specifying an officer. It's like going to that officer, you are playing cards with an officer every night and basically encouraging him to do whatever he does. You don't know what he does. Whatever is in his mind, he does. You are basically encouraging him to do whatever he wants to do. You see what I am saying?
Yeah, no, but in case of sattvic approach,
Yeah.
the mark in the bank balance here.
Yeah.
In case of sattvic approach, its negativity is reduced.
Yeah.
Whereas in case of the rajasic approach, its negativity is increased.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what is written.
Well, the thing is, if you are doing something like wearing a gemstone or doing a particular specific tantra for Mars, what you are doing is you are, even if you have a particular desire with which you are doing that, the planet will basically, the planet resolved to do whatever he wants to do will basically be increased. He won't, if you are wearing gemstone, he is not under your control. Let me put it this way, if you are wearing a gemstone of a planet, it's not that you are controlling the planet. You are basically strengthening the planet, you are making the planet stronger or weaker based on how you are wearing it, to do what the planet is destined to do. You are not getting the planet under any sort of control. Control is a very big word, but let us use it in a very loose sense. You are not getting any control over the planet. Whereas, if you are doing a puja, if you are doing a mantra for Mars, suppose you sit for one whole day, you do 12 hours Mars mantra, then you are getting some kind of control over Mars. See what I am saying? When I say control over Mars, I don't mean getting Mars and tying a belt on his neck and tie, not that way. But there is Mars within you. There is anger within you. You are getting some control over it. Then you get control over the external Mars. So you have some control over that Mars. But how do you exercise that control? That decides what karma you will accrue for future. You may use that control over Mars to save your marriage. Or you may use that control over Mars to do nothing. Just keep that control. That is real Shakti. You don't even think in terms of you get control over Mars. You just use prayer to Mars, you are done. If you really, at that time, when you really do a big sadhana for Mars, if Mars is happy with you, that means you have control over Mars. They are synonymous. Mars being happy with you and you having some control over Mars are synonymous. In that case, you can exercise that control to use Mars for a particular thing. And then of course, based on how much ever karma you have from the past, how much ever you cancel and what kind of thing you want to do, you may or may not be able to do it fully. You may be able to do it to an extent. But you can use that control in that way, again that's radical. So that is why I said if you pray to Mars, we save my marriage, and then if you do prayer, that is also radical. It's not really sattvic. The sattvic thing is you pray, but you don't know why you are praying. Just pray. It's your dharma. You do, let's say 4 hours of sadhana every day. But you don't really want anything. There is nothing that you really need. Just pray. Yeah, you don't care. You don't look at it as bank balance. The moment again you look at it as bank balance, you will think of, okay, I should use it like this, use it like that. You don't really care. You just keep doing it as your dharma. That is what a Jivan Mukta will do. He will do whatever sadhanas he has been doing just as a habit, just as a dharma. He doesn't really care why he is doing it. He doesn't care what he can use all that bank balance for. So that is the only sattvic way. So even prayer is not really sattvic, but that is in general better than wearing a gemstone. The thing is, look at it like this. You basically earn money, you work hard, you earn money and you spend it. Versus, you earn money, you just put it there so that anybody can take it. You don't care. Somebody comes and takes it. I earn money, I work hard, I earn money, I put it behind me. Whoever wants comes and takes it, I don't care. I'll just keep spending. If it is there, somebody will come and take it. So that is what a Jivan Mukta does. Not for himself, he just does sadhana. Maybe so many people will benefit from him. It doesn't matter to him. He doesn't look at it as his money. It is just money that's coming. He doesn't even look at it as he is earning it. That is sattvic. Whereas, if I say, I want to do this, I want to buy this computer, so let me earn money. I work hard, I earn some money, buy this computer. I work hard, earn money, and do something else. So that is Rajasic approach. I am praying, I am going through penance, I am working hard, I am cleansing myself with fasting, etc. But for a cause. I want to fast for 40 days because I want to get married. That is like working hard, earning money and spending it. So if you are not saving the money, you are basically spending the money. Whereas, gemstones and all these things are like taking a big loan and then paying off. Not working hard for it. Not working hard so that you get the money and you pay for what you need. It is like, I want the computer, okay, let me, my credit card, this can be, you use your credit card, shortcut. Yeah, it's a shortcut. And then I take $3,000 loan, buy the latest computer. But the thing is, that can be a problem. That may or may not solve your problem. That can basically postpone the problem. So gemstones are basically like that. If you want to give a gemstone for what? What purpose?
For marriage, not taking a person before organization.
Okay. So the person came to you before the divorce in this particular case. And you are apprehensive that the person may be destined for a divorce. And you want to stop the divorce. The first thing you should do, of course, is pray to Skanda. Pray to Subramanya. Okay, Kartikeya. That's the first thing. Yeah, if they are not inclined, there is hardly anything you can do. So let's assume the person is inclined. Okay? If the person is not inclined, scare the person. Scare the person. Yeah. Say, I mean, if they are not at all into Hinduism, then no problem. Then yeah, they may not have even come to you. If that is the case, respect their sentiments, leave it to that. But if they are basically Hindus from a good family, exposed to all these things, but suppose they left it, then scare them. No, nothing wrong with it. Not really like some people do, but what I mean is, tell them it's really terrible. There is a strong chance of lot of fights and maybe even divorce. I really think you must try to start here. That will really make a lot of sense. To say that, they may actually, even though they are not that inclined, they may become inclined. So sometimes pushing people a little bit so that they are on the right path is not a bad idea. As long as your heart tells you to do so. You never know. If you pray to Hanuman to give you marital happiness. See, the thing is how you pray to Hanuman. By nature, Hanuman is a brahmachari, and also by nature he likes his house more than seven house, parakrama, fighting, etc. rather than marriage. But still, if you pray to Hanuman for marital happiness, he makes it. In general, pray to Hanuman, he doesn't care about marital happiness. But if you ask him specifically for marital happiness, he never knows. But it's a better idea to pray to Kartikeya than the brahmachari like Hanuman. Yeah. Yeah.
She doesn't believe in God. But she did that. The reason being that she is so interested in that marriage.
Yeah.
She's keen to get us going forward.
Yeah.
So she doesn't believe she's fast and she's too fast. She's done that. She's got now. She seriously she said, I don't believe God and all this.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was interested, she did it. But similarly, if the person is interested not to get in the divorce.
Yeah.
If
they have absolutely zero belief, they won't do. But the thing is, if they say, I don't believe, but there is some belief at the back of the mind. It's not fully there, especially below your threshold. Then your advice can take them over the threshold, fill them up, and then push them to do it. That is possible. So, you should do that.
And what she said that I will continue to the fasting and this place and keep up forever.
Forever, even after marriage was settled. Okay, that's good. It doesn't hurt.
I like it actually.
It doesn't hurt actually.
Yeah.
That is the other thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if I mentioned earlier. This fasting on the UL Lord Day and praying at the end of the fasting to the second Lord from UL. This is advice for getting married, but not only that. It is also advice so that your marriage goes on smoothly. Because second Lord from UL not only brings the marriage when it is not there, but also sustains it. He is the sustainer. He keeps giving food to the marriage. So, praying to the second Lord from UL and also fasting on the UL, it makes her more worthy of marriage basically, more worthy of the relationship. She will be better prepared for that relationship and the relationship will continue on a smooth track forever. So, I'm glad that she made that decision, even though, as you say, at one time she said, I don't believe in God. I'm glad she wanted to do it for the rest of her life. That would be very good for her. Okay, now gemstone. Prayer is definitely Kartikeya, she should pray. Definitely she should pray. And which kind of Kartikeya? Just Kartikeya or how is Mars in Navamsha? It's Venus. So either Kartikeya who's lonely or Kartikeya with a wife. So you can, instead of just saying Kartikeya, so yeah, Valli Subramanya, Devasthana Subramanya. Who would be better? I'm not really sure. Just go with Valli, standard. So pray to Valli Subramanya. Valli and Subramanya. Which day? Every Wednesday. Oh, actually, every Wednesday fasting and then pray to the second lord from there is moon, so Krishna. In Rashi. So every Wednesday fast, and at the end of the fast, pray to Krishna. That is one thing. The second thing is, in addition to that, because a really terrible Dasha and Antardasha are going to run, pray to Mars. So that is Valli Subramanya. So that can be any day, either Tuesday or Monday. Monday, why I said is because Mars is in Moon's house in Navamsa. So either a Monday or a Tuesday. Tuesday because the problem is from Scorpio, which is owned by Mars. So that is done. Suppose, hypothetically, because this is useful to know, more than knowing how to predict rewards, it is useful to know how to try to stop it. So if she came to you earlier, hypothetically, you would have told her, pray to Kartikeya on every Tuesday or Monday or both, and fast on every Wednesday, and at the end of the fasting, pray to Krishna. These two things would have made some difference. Now, the other tricky question he asked is, what gemstone to get? And gemstones are a very tough business. So you have to be careful. Look at both Rashi and Navamsa and find a planet which is suitable based on both of them. First, seventh lord, let us say. Seventh lord is basically the sustainer of marriage. So seventh lord in Rashi is Mars. That is in 8th house, and in Navamsa he is the 6th lord. Notice. In Navamsa, who is the 7th lord? Jupiter. But in Rashi he is the 6th lord. Again, not really great for weighing gemstones. So we don't want to either suggest Jupiter or Mars. So who can we suggest?
I suggest maybe
Moon. He wants to suggest Moon. Possible. What else? 9th house is Dharma, and marriage is Dharma. So Mercury is the 9th lord and dual lord in the Rashi chart, and in Navamsa he is the Lagna lord in a trine, in the 5th house of Poropunya. So Mercury is a very good candidate. Who else? How about Venus? He is the Lagna lord of Rashi chart, and in Navamsa he is the 5th lord, but the thing is he is with Mars, and in Rashi he is in the 8th house. Again, even Venus is not that great. So how is, pardon me? Where? Yeah, what did you say actually? Oh, he owns second from here, okay. But it's not a big deal. So things are very mixed. When you look at Venus, again, maybe Venus will work, but not necessarily. But Mercury, he is quite favorable. He has no blemishes. He is a good planet. Unconditional. Well, he is in the 6th house in the Rashi chart. Sun, why Sun?
Sun is in Lagna,
Sun is in the 7th house in Rashi chart. He is exalted in the 7th house.
And the 7th is the 11th lord.
And in the Rashi he is 11th lord. Okay. In Navamsa he is the 3rd lord, a Kamatrikona in Lagna.
So
Sun is in Lagna.
disposing of 7th house.
He is the dispositor of 7th lord in Navamsa. Good. You are thinking right but expressing it incorrectly. He is the dispositor of the 7th lord in the Navamsa chart. So not bad at all. So not bad. So maybe wearing a ruby is not a bad.
Sunny who in this chart has not much to do with marriage, just with relation to marriage.
Yeah.
So strengthening him does it give anything? He's already exalted in Rashi.
He is exalted in the 7th house and he is in the Rashi.
How does it help directly relating to marriage? Because the earlier planet that we saw here usually having some.
There are some blemishes, but Sun doesn't have any serious blemish. In Navamsa he is in Lagna. In Rashi he is in the 7th house. He is exalted. So, and his agenda is not bad for marriage. He is 11th lord. Had he been the 6th lord in 7th, I would have been concerned. He is the 11th lord in 7th and he is in Lagna in Rashi. So he doesn't have any serious blemishes. So Sun is a very favorable candidate for helping the marriage. And he is Tarka for Dharma. Even though you can say Sun is a malefic in Lagna, in Navamsa, Parashara clearly said, for marriage purposes, Sun is a malefic. So he is a... Yeah, now you can find all other links. But the thing is, there are no serious blemishes associated with Sun in this particular chart. So you can wear, ruby would have been a good stone to wear. No drawback.
In case of marriage, when somebody comes saying there are so many troubles and say your husband is all the time in cancer, he's getting there, whatever, some such kind of problems.
Yeah.
Maybe a breakage in marriage is maybe a better thing to do than to not
Maybe.
So, what is the judgment call? How do you make the judgment call? Say like now.
It is your judgment call. Who am I to tell you how to make the judgment? It is an individual judgment. Everybody has to make the judgment. Well, based on the thought, if you see, she is likely to be unhappy and your husband is a really cruel person. I have seen cases like that, where the wife is a really cruel person. The person is a gem of a person, very dharmic. Wife is very adharmic. They got her married in that particular case just for money, just to extract money out of the person. Because the person is from a very well-to-do family, very good position basically in society. They are very rich people, and the wife was the wife's father was basically a union leader kind of person, and he has a lot of clout in the society. So, but they are not as rich as these two kids. So they got her married, and then now they want divorce and they want a nice sum in settlement. So in such a case, but the person's ethics are, I got married to her, so somehow I should make it work, not get a divorce. So what do you tell such a person? Of course you can try, okay, try to discard that will send your wife as well as her father, because he is the mastermind behind all this. So you can try, but you have to make a judgment on, is it likely to work? What is the probability of working? And what is the probability of, at the end of all of it, still marriage not surviving? And this person going through more trouble. In this particular case, this person lives in US and wife went back to India, and they do all the stuff to his father. The person's father is in stuff. They put him in shame basically in society. They do all kinds of negative things there. They put pressure on him to find a divorce opportunity. So his father is suffering. So do you tell him to pray so that his father suffers more, but eventually there is some chance of problem resolving? Or do you tell him to do certain pujas so that father is destroyed? Not the person's father, but the wife's father and wife, they basically go nuts, and then they get into troubles by themselves so that they stop worrying these days. Is that better? Or do you tell him, okay, fine, whatever they want to do, and then be done with it? What do you tell him? It's a judgment. So there is no right and wrong. What seems right to me may seem wrong to Prasad. What seems right to him may seem wrong to Srinivas. So you just go by your instinct, and then your instinct becomes purer and purer as your sadhana improves more and more. That is always a good idea. When I was switching, when I was turning off and turning on, what Cat said is, what did you say? Can you say it again?
I think we just need to increase the sergeant, because if you do any action with the desire, you will do karma.
Yeah. His point is, if you do a particular action with a particular desire to influence the event, it's karma for you. But the thing is, people in such dire straits, you can't tell them, stay away from karma, moksha. Those people are so stuck, neck deep in trouble. So what they need is to use up, to basically temporarily use up some of their good karma to compensate for this, and then get out of it, and then they can go into sadhana. You can tell them, if the person is really destined for it, maybe you will give them that advice, and that's it. That may be the trigger to the person becoming a sannyasi and becoming a great sadhaka. That is also possible, you never know. But 90% of the cases, when people come to you with this kind of serious problem, their head is basically like twisted. It's like twisted metal, their brain. They're not able to think at all. They're so confused and so frustrated. So all they need is somehow to start on a clean slate. Problem basically temporarily getting over and starting on a clean slate. Then you can tell them, you care, all this thing, without any desire. But at that time, it's okay to suggest prayers with a particular desire. And I saw another case recently where the person is a very spiritual person, very nice person. His wife had relationship with somebody at her work, basically her boss at her work, she checked with that person. He knew about it, but he said, well, it's a little difficult for me to digest, but I'll get over it. Let's just forget about it and let's have a normal relationship. Let's basically continue to be as we were. Let's just forget it, he said. He was so open-minded. But still, she thought that this was a love marriage against their parents' wish. But the lady thought this person is not good enough for her. She wants better things in life, higher status, so-called. So, they were actually, this person was sleeping in the children's room. One day she said, one night she said, I'm sorry, I was very bad to you. Come, and then she came to the bedroom. After they slept, she went to the police station and then complained that she raped her. And then she filed for divorce. Now, it's not just a divorce case, but a rape case. Yeah, there is medical evidence, etc. Of course, not of, she says it's consensual. She says, no, it's a rape. But the thing is, she basically planned such a nice trap. So, such things do happen to people. What do you tell that person? Do you tell him it's your karma? So, of course, he thinks it's his karma. He's not angry at her. His parents are very angry at the place. His parents are very, very upset. When they got married against their wishes, they said, okay, fine. We only have sons. We don't have a daughter, so she's our daughter. They accepted her. Even though the marriage happened against their wishes. They accepted her. They look at her as their daughter. She was also like that for some time. But when she saw something, when she saw how else her life could be, she said, okay, that's what I want, and then she started saying like this. So what do you tell in this such a case? You tell them, forget the both through it. Well, if you are convicted for rape, go to jail and spend 10 years there. It's fine. That will burn all your karma. Because don't have a desire to escape from jail, because the desire itself is a karma, which is true. Do you tell him that, or do you tell him, do this prayer so that you don't go to jail? Do this prayer so that you come out of all this, and then do your sadhana. Again, you can give both the advices. I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. But this kind of really tricky judgments you have to make as an astrologer. So it's not easy. It's not always easy. There are very tricky cases. So you have to judge on a case-by-case basis, and whatever your intuition tells you, you just go with it. Okay, coming back. So we looked at what gemstone would be good, what prayers would have been good, not now, but earlier would have been good. Now, what else do we want to see? Is there any other confusion apart from Mishra? You said Narayan Dasha, right?
Yeah, Narayan Dasha.
Okay. Okay, let us look at the Narayan Dasha. The confusion was with respect to Narayan Dasha of Rashi chart or Navamsa. So, Rashi chart? Okay. He was looking at the Narayan Dasha of the Rashi chart. That. Yeah. So you are saying Kepikan Navamsa Dasha. Yeah, it is right. So he was looking at the Navamsa Narayan Dasha, and he had a little bit of confusion. Okay. Now Capricorn gave divorce. Why?
Because Capricorn is the 8th house.
Pardon? Okay, Capricorn is in the 8th house, and it is a Pushthodaya Rashi. Where is Capricorn? Lord Saturn. Again, no. Aries. 1, 2, 4, 9, 10. Those are the Pushthodaya Rashi, Ketu's formula. 1, 2, 4, 9, 10. So Aries is 1. So he is in a Pushthodaya Rashi. So Saturn, Lord is in a Pushthodaya Rashi. The sign itself is in Pushthodaya Rashi.
No.
What is your question, Seshu?
No,
Marriage, you want to see when marriage happens. Is that right? Let us look at marriage then. Marriage. What is the order? The Dasha was Sagittarius. 1991 April till 1999 April. 8 years was Sagittarius. When will Sagittarius give its result? Being a Pushthodaya Rashi in the last 1/3. From August 96 to April 99. That is when the results of Sagittarius itself will be given. And when are the results of Jupiter given? The Lord, Jupiter is in Leo, Pushthodaya Rashi. So in the first 1/3, 91 to 93 are Jupiter results. Middle is aspects on Sagittarius, Rahu, Ketu, Moon, Sun results. Finally, Sagittarius will give its own results in the last one-third. Now, that is when she got married. When Sagittarius was giving its own results, she got married. Makes sense or no? Perfect. Makes perfect sense. Why? Seventh house. Seventh house, Sagittarius, your marriage. Then the one-third, when its one-third came. So, marriage between 96 August till 99 April is perfect. Of course, Jupiter could also have given. The seventh Lord, Jupiter. So, this is also possible, but maybe she was too young then, so it didn't happen. But definitely, Sagittarius giving marriage is logical. Now, Capricorn gave the divorce. Why? 8th house. 8th house is basically a Margasthana. 8th house in Navamsa can give a break in dharmic life. And again, Capricorn being a Pushtadha Rashi will give in the last one-third. So, between 2004 August and 2007 April. So, during this time, divorce is a strong possibility when Capricorn gives its result. So, again that happened. So, it came in Sagittarius Antardasha, right. But to ignore the Antardasha, to just look at the one-third rule, is basically in the one-third corresponding to Capricorn itself giving its result. And if you take Sagittarius, from Capricorn as Lagna, now forget the actual Lagna. In Capricorn Dasha, if you take Capricorn as Lagna, Sagittarius is the 12th house, and where is the Sagittarius Lord? Jupiter in the 8th house. And moreover, if you look at the Bhoga, from Capricorn, Sagittarius is 12th house. From Sagittarius, if you take the 12th house, it is Scorpio. So from the natal Lagna, the Bhoga, Dasha to Antardasha, the Antardasha to the same form. That is Bhoga. That Bhoga is in the 6th house of divorce. So there is a very strong case for divorce happening in Capricorn Sagittarius, especially that one-third of Capricorn. During those 4 Antardashas, in the one-third of Capricorn, divorce happening, there is a very strong case. So what was your conclusion?
Like I am satisfied with that divorce actually.
You are satisfied with the divorce.
Because Dasha was satisfactory. But I was thinking that even this Dasha can give remarriage also.
Okay, so he is thinking he is satisfied with the divorce, and he thinks that now there is a chance of remarriage in the same Antardasha. Okay, this is a, how do we see?
Because when it comes to second marriage, we have to jump to 7 or 7 something. 7.
Yeah.
When from there it becomes 7th house.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so his point is,
how the same Dasha can give both.
oh, that is possible. That is possible. Yeah. Same Dasha can give both. That is not a problem. But is it a likelihood? Which sign gives the second marriage in this case? The first marriage was given by Sagittarius, as we saw. Second marriage is given by Cancer. Does Capricorn, of course, Capricorn is 7th from it, but that's not enough. Does Capricorn have anything to do with Cancer? So, apart from being second, being the 7th from it. Does it have anything to do with it? Yeah. Okay, so.
Cancer is usually dual positive cancer.
Why are you saying you will from Cancer?
Not from cancer.
Yeah.
You think what does Capricorn have to do from cancer?
Yeah. Is there a really strong chance of Capricorn giving marriage, second marriage? The second marriage is shown by the second house, and of course you can always look at Lagna, 9th house, all these things, Venus, all these things you can always see. Do you think that Aquarius, the next Dasha, has a better chance or the current Capricorn Dasha? Which is more likely to give marriage? If there is a second marriage. Aquarius is the 9th house, it has Arul Lagna, maybe a tangible new beginning. It is the 9th house. And where is its Lord? has two lords. One of them is in the 11th house, and if you take the second house, Cancer, Aquarius has aspect on it. So, and Aquarius is aspected by Venus. So, Aquarius has a stronger chance to give the second marriage than Capricorn. Does it make sense? Because it has drishti on the second, on this particular sign, more rather than Capricorn, which is in the 8th house. And moreover, it is the 9th house from natal Lagna, and it has Aru Lagna. But why don't we look at, instead of just sticking to Narayan Dasha, why don't we look at our favorite Dasha in this case? What is it? Chaturthi Samadasha. Is there a chance of marriage in Mars Dasha? Actually, is Mars capable of giving second marriage? If so, who will give it? First of all, two questions. Is Mars capable of giving marriage? Second of all, if so, which under Dasha? So Mars is with Venus, and in the Rashi he is the seventh lord of relationship. So there is, and how do you see the second marriage in Navamsha? As far as the first marriage is concerned, Mars shows the break of it, because he is the 12th lord from it, right? But if you take the second marriage, Mars is no longer, don't look at him as the 5th lord, because that doesn't really mean much now anymore. So from the second marriage, Cancer is the Rashi for the second marriage. So taking that as Lagna, how is Mars for the second marriage? Is he a breaker or is he a blesser? He is a 5th and 10th lord. 5th and 10th lord. Is he giving a Raj Yoga from that sign? From the Lagna of second marriage, Mars and Venus, even though they have an uncomfortable relationship, 4th and 5th lord. They have a nice relationship. Moreover, Mars is Yoga. So whether he exchanges results with Venus or receives to, doesn't matter. Either case, Mars Dasha is favorable for the second marriage. So Mars actually does have a chance of giving second marriage. Everybody is with me so far? Now which plan? Pardon? Yes. The first marriage is from the second house, 7th house. 7th house shows the first marriage in Navamsha. The second marriage, when the first marriage ends and second marriage starts, in that case like divorce or spouse dying in those cases, for the second marriage you take the 8th from the 7th. 8th from the 7th is 8th from Sagittarius is Cancer. Hypothetically, if there is a third marriage, you take the 8th there from, 8th from Cancer again, Aquarius, and so on. You understand? So, from that point of view, the important sign for the second marriage is Cancer.
So the transition is divorce or divorce or...
Pardon me?
The transition of that
Lagna. Yeah.
You should take just after divorce and...
Yeah, just after divorce, or even if divorce proceedings are there and the person is romantically linked to somebody else, still you can consider it as a second marriage. Because divorce proceedings, if they started, the understanding is that this relationship has broken. Then you can see some Cancer.
But the family still that has, without even the divorce coming into picture or breaking the marriage.
Well, this is only if there is a divorce. Cancer will show the second marriage. Suppose the person is already married and without divorcing the first wife, let's say he marries second wife. Then you would have taken Taurus as the Rashi for showing the second wife. In that case, the 6th from the 7th would show the second marriage. Okay? So in cultures where multiple marriages are allowed, like, what is it called? Mormons, Islam, etc. I was looking for polygamy. In cultures where polygamy is allowed, either for men or women, in such a case, if you keep adding spouses, you take the 6, 6, 6 and so on. Whereas if you keep destroying one relationship and forming a new one, like is common in most other cultures, then you take the 8 there.
And then you move the Lagna.
Not Lagna, the 7th house there. The 7th house moves there, but you take the 7th house as Lagna to see how the marriage will be. See, originally the 7th house, if you take that as Lagna, you see how the marriage is going to be. The 12th from it is loss of that marriage, the second from is silver from that marriage.
And that is going to be the Lagna with spouse.
Lagna of the spouse, yes. So this is the Lagna of the second spouse. Lagna of the second, Cancer. Cancer is the Lagna of the second spouse. More than Lagna of second spouse, it is basically Lagna of the second relationship, second marriage. It basically decider. It is the container of all the vitality of the second marriage.
Warren Jeffs, the FBI wanted to marry over 60 wives.
Pardon me?
Warren Jeffs, the Mormon polygamist, married over 60 different wives.
Wow.
He has over 60 wives. Right?
So there is apparently somebody with over 60 wives. We don't really know how to handle it.
As many wives as he should have.
As?
Uh-huh.
Now the thing is, such a case, how to handle it? We are not really sure, because what the tradition says is if somebody keeps on accumulating wives, you take the 7th house, 6 from there, 6 from there, 6 from there, 6 from there, so we can count up to 12. But after 12, you come back to the same sign. So how do you handle it? There must be some exceptions, but we don't really know. So we can only go up to 12. We'll get similar relationships from the chart, but there must be an exception. We don't really, we have really no idea, unfortunately. So such cases, if they come to you, you just have to hurry. Yeah, they are so busy marrying people that they won't come to you for advice.
After 60 wives, God has to destroy.
But the Lagna of the lady here will remain stable.
Lagna of lady is the same.
So there's still the problems of having relation and divorce is possible.
Yeah.
Even the second marriage can happen.
Basically, if Lagna is weak, but the thing is, Lagna has done the 5th Lord is Mercury, Lagna Lord is in the 5th house. So it's not that there are serious weaknesses in the chart itself. But the Karaka Venus is with Mars. Mars is the 6th Lord. So that Venus-Mars tension is always there. And 7th Lord Jupiter. 7th is basically the controller of overall relationship, not just the first marriage, but overall relationship. He is in Manakaraka Sthana. So those weaknesses are still there. So whatever we see in the second marriage, third marriage is on top of this basis.
So definitely, but now I have a case because
Lady got divorced, but I need to see, they asked me, is she having a likelihood of having a second marriage?
Yeah.
So do I going to take the 8th from the 7th or the...
Of course.
As the Lagna to decide?
Not as the Lagna. Take that as the 2nd, 7th house.
And see how it can travel or how
Yeah.
the planets are.
Any planet which is in that sign or aspects that sign or Yokarka, something from that sign, they are likely to give the second marriage. The planet, in order to give the second marriage, has to do something with that sign. Or the Lagna itself. Lagna doesn't change. So Lagna being Gemini, Sun, who's in Lagna, Mercury, who owns the Lagna, they are always capable of giving marriage. They are always capable of giving new starts in dharmic life. So they remain in their capacity. In addition, earlier, Jupiter was the 7th Lord, so he was a giver of marriage. Now, he's not the one. Moon is the Lord of the 2nd house, Venus and Mars are in it, and Mars is especially Yokarka for it. And of course, Venus is Karaka. So Venus and Mars are the givers now. You understand?
But they still have the agenda of the same
Pardon me? Yeah, Venus doesn't have any bad agenda.
No, but Mars,
Mars has some agenda to give her fight.
yeah,
So that remains.
that will be
That remains.
from the...
That remains.
But then now when you move
But the thing is, from the second marriage, he is Yokaraka. So he has the tendency to give some fight or some. The native may feel like quarreling, but if you take the husband, this husband may not really quarrel that much. Because from that side, Mars is not really an aggravating planet. For her, Mars is an aggravating planet. Earlier, Mars was an aggravating planet for her as well as the husband. He was the 12th Lord in the 8th house, so he was an aggravating planet. But now Mars is not really such an aggravating planet. So still he will give some tension, but it will be much less. Okay? So Mars is likely to give the second marriage, which is a good antardasha. Is Jupiter capable of giving second marriage or Mercury? Mercury seems like a good candidate. Yeah.
12th in the 4th house.
Yeah, 12th and 3rd Lord in the 4th house. Yeah. Not that bad. Moreover, he is the Lagna Lord. He is the Lagna Lord. In Rashi, he is the UL Lord. And of course, he is the 9th house Lord. So, Rahu is Mercury is not a bad candidate.
We are in the Rajyata is same, right?
It is same. Absolutely. So, What kind of a person will the second spouse be? Actually, first spouse. What kind of a person was the first spouse? You are taking Sagittarius element now, okay? Okay, what do you see? Lagna Lord Jupiter in the 9th house, so very highest sensitivity. What is?
I'm suspicious. Because of Rahu,
Who makes people suspicious?
suspecting everything.
Who is the karga for suspicious nature? Why? Eighth house is suspicion house? Yeah, secret doesn't mean suspecting. Suspicious means you are always cynical. That negative attitude is always there. Not taking things positively, but always looking for a negative. Who's like that? Who's the kind of cynical person among all the planets? Okay, Saturn. Saturn is the karga for cynicism, skepticism, over conservative. In general, Saturn is conservative. When the conservatism becomes too much, it becomes skepticism or suspicious nature. So Saturn is the karka. But why? What does Saturn have to do with the 7th house? Why is he influencing the nature of the person? Does 7th house really show the spouse? Spouse, nature, attitude, etc. What shows the nature of the person? L7. Where is L7? It doesn't matter. Here, the 7th house and 7th lord are in trine. So whether you take from 7th lord to 7th house and there from, or you take from 7th house to 7th lord and there from, you get the same sign. Whenever a sign and lord are in trine, A7 and L7, Arudha of the lord as well as the sign will be the same. So I don't have to open it. You know that L7 is in A7. Did you get what I said? Then we will say.
What is the logic?
Logic usually don't matter. If you have software, you just do the procedure. Okay, L7 is in Aries, right? That's what I said. What I said is, if the sign and lord are in trines, let us say, mutual trines. If the sign and lord are in mutual trines, you count from the sign to lord, and the same thing you get the other trine, right? Similarly, if you count from lord to the sign, and the same count if you count, you go to the same remaining trine. If A and B are mutually trine, A to B, if you count the same distance B to that, you get the remaining trine. Or you go from B to A and the same distance, again you get the same trine. So, in cases where sign and lord are in mutual trine, you don't have to open L7. You just look for A7. Or you don't have to look for L9. Just look for A9. That is basically a shortcut in the brain so that you don't have to go through this menu and do this stupid math. So anyway, I shouldn't have mentioned it because I wanted to save some time of clicking the mouse, but I ended up explaining it for much more time.
No, but in the long run, you save time.
Maybe, I hope so. I hope you remember it. I hope you don't remember it as spotted instead of trying, because sometimes we keep remembering differently. So, okay, so L7 is in Aries. So what kind of a person is the husband? Now do you think he is pious, religious, etc., or something like that? Fiery, okay. Explosive, okay. But Saturn is there. If Saturn is in Lagna, are those people explosive? Usually not. Usually they take things easy, they are not sure, they are unsure of things. But when Saturn is in Aries, when time comes, the person who is normally unsure and diffident, not very confident, very suspicious, looking at everything negatively, that person, when the time comes, will explode. He will explode like a... I don't know him, but he will explode.
O.J. murdered his wife, too.
Okay.
His love did this. You remember that now?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. No, I always remember. I didn't want to say anything. Of course, all the Bronco chasing week after on TV live, of course I remember very well. It's not somebody you will forget, but I just wanted to pretend that I didn't remember. I mean, I don't know if he's an example or not, so I don't want to make any judgment. So,
Saturn was saying that he was suspicious not all those
yeah.
negative types.
Yeah.
But also Saturn is also dharmic. It makes the person to be follow the dharma.
He may make the person follow dharma, very traditional, very conservative. That is also called.
So when do you see that it is one
Like I said many times, it's very difficult. You look at the strength of Saturn. Who are influencing Saturn? What are the strengths of Saturn? Let us see here. How strong is Saturn here? Is he strong or is he weak?
He is in a Martian sign and he's not very comfortable.
He is in a Martian sign, he is debilitated there. So Saturn is not very comfortable there. Saturn is not very strong. And what are the influences on Saturn? Who are having Argala on Saturn? Rahu doesn't have any Argala. But Rahu has Grahadrishti. He has influence from Rahu, Jupiter and Mercury. For me? In Navamsa. Rahu, Jupiter and Mercury have Grahadrishti on him. Venus and Mars have Grahadrishti on him. And his general nature is being very conservative. So here, the positive influences are Venus Argala, Jupiter aspect and Mercury aspect. Those aspects will endow Saturn with good quality. And what are the negatives here? Rahu's Grahadrishti on Saturn and Mars Argala. So those will basically provoke the negative qualities in Saturn. Which will dominate here? Rahu is a very close friend of Saturn. So when Rahu is aspecting Saturn, it is like a friend having a desire to influence your attitude to be in a particular way. So when your friend has a desire, he will probably listen to your friend. You see what I am saying? And Mars, he is the landlord. He is the dispositor of Saturn. So your landlord has Grahadrishti on you. Argala on you. So he has a very decisive influence on you. He controls you basically. He is in the driving position. Fourth house Argala is a controlling Argala. So he has a controlling Argala over you. So Mars and Rahu, if they dominate, the person is very negative attitude, suspicious and also aggressive on account of the suspicious. So here again, all this analysis doesn't tell you for sure what is going on. But suppose only Mars and Rahu were there, no positive Argalas and positive Grahadrishti, then you could have concluded this Saturn is a negative Saturn. Suppose only positives were there, you could have concluded, okay, this is a positive Saturn, very traditional kind of person. Here both are there, so you have to again judge which one will dominate. And we can judge that Rahu and Mars will dominate over Mercury and Jupiter. And from what he said, that is true. But it's not very easy. In border cases, it's not very easy. This is a border case. But probably Mars and Rahu are dominating. So the person is very aggressive and very conservative at the same time. It's a very curious mixture. And Saturn and Mars both influence Lagna. Usually such people are very curious mixtures of contrasting styles. At times the person is very slow, at times the person is very fast. Usually very timid, but when the person gets anger or boldness, can do anything. That kind of explosive person the husband is. What else can you say about the husband? Is he intelligent? What are you saying?
No, I don't know much.
He doesn't know much. So
I know that he is suspicious and that's why they got
yeah. But we can generally guess. Is the person intelligent? Mercury is aspecting Lagna, but who is in the 5th house? Jupiter is in the 5th house, and 5th lord Sun is in 3rd house, well placed. 5th lord is well placed. And in general, 5th and 6th lords having something to do with 3rd house or Lagna, it's good. It makes the person intelligent. So 6th lord being in the 3rd house, Sun, and 5th house having Jupiter. So you can conclude that the person is a pretty intelligent person. So he is an intelligent person and he is very aggressive. Can you say anything else? 9th lord in 5th house. So in general a fortunate person. Okay, that's enough. But is the person happy? How is his sense of happiness with him? Is he happy, in general happy and cheerful, things like this kind of person, or somebody who is always unhappy about something or the other? No. Take the person speaking only. So taking L7 only, but how is the 4th house? Venus and Mars.
Technology and
Yeah. In general, if you see Venus and Mars or any such uneasy combination, it's not good for that house. Especially a house like 4th house of Sukha, Venus and Mars tension is not good for conducive to the comfort of the person. So Venus gives comfort, but not Mars.
But Mars is in this case is a Lagna Lord.
He is Lagna Lord, that's true, but still Karakatva wise, Mars is the Karaka for anger, and Venus is the Karaka for harmony and peace. So planets of harmony and disharmony are together in a house that is very crucial for the harmony of the mind. So very likely this person doesn't have a lot of happiness. The person will be unhappy about things, always uneasy about things that are going on, always looking at things negatively.
6 hours I got Pluto and Moon.
Yeah, 6 hours has moon and Ketu. What do you say?
A lot of
If 6 hours has moon and Ketu, lot of struggle. How is the health? If 6 house has moon or sun eclipsed by Rahu or Ketu, in general, health may not be great. Health may not be perfect. Maybe some blood pressure issues or some digestion issues, blood pressure issues. But some health problem is positive.
it triggers in the Ketu Disha or
Maybe, or sometimes maybe earlier also. In a Ketu Antardisha, it may have triggered and may be active. But there is chance of health problem. So, like that you can conclude something about the person, but let us leave it here.
But one is
Yes.
you are taking everything related to L7 as the Lagna.
Yeah,
You are not taking 7th house as the Lagna.
yeah. What does 7th house show?
is
7th house for the relationship and
7th house is basically the marriage itself. Oh, by the way, I will almost forget. So before I forget, I just want to mention this. Next week there is no class. Next Sunday I'll be in Pennsylvania. This time I'll be teaching in Ashvidya Gurukulam. So like I went last year, there is a seminar at Ashvidya Gurukulam in Pennsylvania, Charlottesville. I'll send you a link. You can actually go to ashvidya.org, www.ashvidya without any hyphen or underscore, ashvidya.org, and there is a link event. You can go there and there is information on registering. If any of you want to register, you can talk to those people. You are welcome to. Okay, the topic is, this is a very simple and practical topic. The topic they wanted is just some practical thought analysis. Like we do in the class now, we'll just take up some thoughts and generally see how you see thoughts. What are the basic principles? So I'll probably spend maybe a half hour or so giving all the basics like Alkada, Arika, what is Rakshasti, what is Rajashti, what is Rashid, what is Karkatva, so all the analogies that we use here. I will probably lay down those basics and then take a couple of thoughts. So that's basically what I will be doing.
if they don't want any more projects anymore.
And not that, but they want to get a sense of how actually to use the knowledge, because otherwise it's theoretical. And honestly, when we go to seminars and conferences or workshops, many times we end up teaching things that we don't actually use. In my mind, there is a distinction between practical astrology and theoretical astrology. There are certain techniques that I want to understand better because they may help us make better predictions in future. So I just keep experimenting and researching and playing around with things. But there are, if I want to give a prediction to somebody who is in problem, I will use Vishwatri, Nakshatra Vita, Narayan Vita, Vyasthatri, Chitravar. These are my staple techniques. These I know work with a good percentage. Whereas other things like some complicated progressions or stuff that I keep writing on lists or talk about in seminars, those are not perfect. Even these are not perfect, Vyasthatri, Chitravar, but these are almost perfect. Their probability of success is much less. But still, because there is something interesting, we keep teaching them at seminars and keep discussing them. But it is good to have the grounding so that we can actually help people. So we thought it would be a good idea to do some practical stuff instead of theoretical analysis.
What are the other people thinking?
I forgot. Actually, right now, no, I don't have it. You can go there and you can see. I think there is one topic on Navamsha. All you wanted to know about Navamsha by Ronnie Dale Dreyer. It's in New York. So basically it's about Navamsha, our understanding of Navamsha. And then there is one session by Gary Bones. is basically from this area. I don't know if you know from Garrison or Swami Kampananda. No, not Garrison. You're getting confused with somebody else, maybe Ramjan. No, I forget. I forget who it is. You are getting confused with somebody. Gary is not a system resource guy. He learned at Asvidya Gurukulam a few years back, like a decade back. When the K.N. used to come to Asvidya Gurukulam, he used to go and learn. And he is close to K.N. Rao. He learned from him. And he was also associated with SKC for a while. He's a very nice man, very spiritual person, very nice man, very honest custodian. He is also, I think, organizing some classes at some university. Of course, there is a CS, not like we do. So I don't know much else about him. He's a member of various of these groups, all these groups. Actually, I think there is one competing group with ACDA, ACDA or ADA, SPDA. One letter is dark, I forget which one. I think CDA. There is a competing group with ACDA. He is basically one of the key guys in the capital group. His name is Gary Gomes. He is also known as Jyothishya or Swami Kampananda. So he will be teaching on, I forget what, I forgot his topic. And then I will be teaching this. And then Brendan Seeley will be teaching Iran, Iraq, Israel, an astrological perspective. That is the title. So Brendan Seeley, most of you have seen him, he came here. He usually talks about Ayurveda and Vedic astrology. So it's rare that he talks about Iran, Iraq, etc. And this time he's going to talk about Iran, Iraq and Israel. How things are in each other. So these are the topics. These are the 4 topics basically for half. From day, half day. And my session is on Sunday morning, which is good. So it's basically like what is basically Guru Hara, all that stuff. Guru Kalam, the stuff is easy. Yeah. Okay, is it? Okay. The following weekend is a long weekend, apparently. May 27, 28, I think. So, do you want to skip that class too?
If you have a lot of class to do for all the weekend.
How many of you are planning to go somewhere in the long weekend? Actually, I may plan to. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Some people are out and my wife may want to go somewhere too. So, I will give her on weekend. So, what I will do is, so next we will meet on the 4th of, not July but June. Wednesday on the 4th of June, immediately light comes to mind. So we'll meet on the 4th of June and I actually wanted to tell you one more thing. Guru Purnima is coming up soon. So I hope you guys don't basically strain yourself. Last time you did a very good job coming up with the book. But what I wanted to do, what I don't want you to do is basically kill yourself in the process of coming up with a book or doing something special. You don't really have to do anything special. Just come to the class and learn whatever you learn and see a couple of class every week. That is just a bit of
I have a different perspective on my subject.
Yeah.
It is like this. To me, nothing is free. When you don't charge anything, this is my perspective. It should be different for everybody. You don't charge anything. You spend so much time and energy to come here. And every individual who is running here is also spending time. As a thankful note to somebody, it is very good to don't have any money or anything in cash in time.
No, I did appreciate what you gave last time, but what I am saying is don't change yourself. Sometimes what happens is when you do something, next time there is pressure to do either that level or something higher. All I am telling you is don't put pressure on yourself. Just take it easy. Okay? Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
I used to look at it. When I put the pressure and then that's why if you see, I have not said
see, if Seshu is putting pressure on all of you guys, do your coup and get it off Seshu and somebody else do the bigger.
When I put pressure last time, I spent more than 15 minutes to people to do. This time I am not considering it. I am not taking pressure.
Okay.
But I only suggest that every individual who is getting benefited from this class contribute something so that in the future rest of 100 other folks who are...
Okay. I will leave it to you. But all I am saying is don't put too much pressure and if you need, take help from other people also. There are other people who are like Saurav, etc. People who are listening to the audio who are not here. So if those people want to help, take help from other people so that you work hard at the same time you enjoy. So don't strain yourself. That's all I wanted to say. In case you guys are straining yourself. And especially Keshu may like that pressure, but there may be somebody else who doesn't like that pressure. Feel free. Okay, then I will. You guys figure it out. But just take it easy.
Holidays, I think, is the better time to have that.
Maybe you guys can work it out. Okay, I'll leave it at that. So June 4 is the next class. And any of you who want to come to Ashwadya Gurukulam, you are most welcome to come. But I will not teach anything that I am not teaching here. Whatever you guys already know will be teaching. Only thing is there may be a couple of stars that you haven't seen. But you do get a lot of variety of stars here. So you will probably not be missing anything. But that doesn't mean you are not welcome. You are most welcome.
And the note is that do that to June 4. There will be a function here. So if you come here 9 o'clock, there is a function that you no class is
On June 4, the class is on upstairs. The class is upstairs. Okay? So if I am not here, if Keshu is not here, Vijay is not here, don't think, yeah, no class is there. Look around. Class is somewhere else. Yeah, my kids are so excited when, for example, Friday afternoon there was no class. They had to parent teacher thing. So they were excited. Yes, no class. Okay. What is actually, yeah. Okay, I'll take that, but I stopped in the middle of something, to ask, because I didn't want to forget this. And of course, there is prasadam at the end, don't forget it. Prasadam from the side of Pizza. Yeah, you were excellent. Okay, now you are done.
No, it is nothing to do with this. I'm just looking at
You were yeah, sure.
I was just reading this Nakshatra, along with the Gandhar, 6 Gandhars of Yashan, first 8 Gandhars of Mula, what the
8 last, 6 Gandhars
6 Gandhars of Yashan.
last 6 Gandhars.
Last
6 Gandhars of Yashan. Mula, okay.
How do you measure? I'm not sure about what you just said. How do you think so?
Yeah, Gandhika is basically 1/60th of a day. Yeah, 24 minutes. 1/60th of a day. The old measure of time in India, of course, they have horas also, hours, because they had the planetary hours, deciding so many things. But on top of it, the regular clock, regular time use, the way day was divided was, each day was divided into 60 equal parts. Just like each degree is divided into 60 minutes, each minute is divided into 60 seconds. 60 is a very important number in Hinduism. So each day is divided into 60 ghatikas. Ghatikas are also called ghatis, and they are also called, some people I think call them nadikas or nadi. 60 nadis. And then each ghatika is further divided into 60 parts. They are called Vighatikas or Vighati or Vinadi. Vinadi is also written as Vinali basically. So that is the division of time. So if you look in terms of hours, minutes, Ghatika corresponds to 24 minutes and Vighatika corresponds to 24 seconds. Okay, so this is the, some people also, I think North Indians have some other nomenclature also. I am not very familiar. But the Sanskrita nomenclature is Ghatika, Vighatika. That is why we have Ghatika Lagna. So remember, the Lagna that moves 5 times faster than Lagna, circularly. Normal Lagna moves elliptically. In other words, one Rashi, Lagna may be in one Rashi for 2.5 hours, in another Rashi for only 1.5 hours. But Ghati Lagna moves like a uniform pace. From sunrise to the next sunrise, it goes around the zodiac 5 times. That Lagna is called GL, right, in the software. So that is called Ghatika Lagna. Why? Because Lagna stays in one sign for how long? 24 minutes, 1/5 of the 2 hours. If it is moving uniformly like Bhava Lagna, Lagna will be in one sign for 24 divided by 12, 2 hours. But this is 5 times faster, so 2 hours divided by 5. So that is 60 times 2, 120 divided by 5, that is 24. So 24 minutes, every 24 minutes it keeps changing Lagna. That is why it's called Ghatika Lagna. It changes from Ghatika to Ghatika. One sign for one Ghatika, another sign for another Ghatika, another sign for another Ghatika, and so on. So that is the meaning of Ghatika. So What was your question? I forgot.
So,
Oh, okay. So,
measurement, how do you-
okay. So the measurement is, what is 6 Khadikas? 6 times 24 minutes. How much is it? 120 plus 24, 144. So roughly 144 minutes. So if you are talking about moon being in, not moon, if you are talking about, let's say, pardon me?
I'm talking about.
Let's say we are talking about Lagna being in Gannanta.
Yeah.
Okay? So Lagna, let us say Lagna is moving uniform speed, let us say hypothetically. So let us say it is exactly on the border at 6 o'clock today. 6 o'clock in the evening. Okay? It's exactly on the border between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So basically 6 Khadikas before 6 o'clock and 8 Khadikas after 6 o'clock. So what does that work out to? That seems too long. Yeah, that seems too long. This may be then more than Lagna. This may be more for moon.
So this is
What is the exact word?
talking about Nakshatra is the moon.
Oh, they are talking about Nakshatra. Okay, then it must be talking about moon. In that case, moon, his speed is different. So if you are talking about something like 2 hours, we are talking about something like 2 hours, right? 6 Khadikas is basically the last 2 hours. So in 2 hours, how much does moon move? It's basically 1/12 of one nakshatra. So roughly, about a degree. So it's basically roughly saying the last degree of Scorpio and the first degree of Sagittarius or Jyothishya. Roughly that is what he's saying. But why exactly 6 Khadikas, 8 Khadikas, I'm not sure. There must be some time behind it.
Because we can say Gandika, that is a fixed time.
Right.
But for different planets being in Gandika, their speed.
That's what I'm saying. I think the duration that you have mentioned is probably for moon. That is my guess. But in general, apart from what ETH has said, in general what tradition says is, for Lagna, moon or any planet, the last Navamsha and the first Navamsha of Scorpio and Sagittarius respectively are inauspicious. Within that Navamsha, the final degree and the first degree, the border degree are particularly very crucial. That is the deep Gannanta. So that is what the tradition says. It is roughly the same if you take the moon.
Chapter 92,
I'll verify it and say more later.
it might have to do with the war.
Maybe. But the thing is, time doesn't necessarily translate into degrees. It has a rough correspondence. The moon to travel 1 degree, moon doesn't always take the same time.
No.
Sometimes it may take 6 Khadikas, sometimes 8 Khadikas, sometimes 7 Khadikas. So this may be either this is approximate, just as a guideline, or there is some deep meaning.
And
You will figure it out.
And they used to use the apogee of the moon and progress the apogee of the perigee, so the progression of one existing point. And then they progress that at a certain speed.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get different progressions from apogee to perigee of the moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
very important to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these people call this thing myth.
Call it what?
Mytha.
I see.
Yeah, that was the name.
Mm-hmm.
So you can watch those.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually use the apogee of perigee, you can plot it, or you can progress it.
I see. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Now, before we end the class, because we are running out of time, before we end the class, there is one thing that I want to do. We said that before, the period right now is conducive to marriage, we said, right? 2005 October till 2007 July is a conducive period. And when we looked at the Narayan Dasha, we found that what most of that. That's right. But towards the end, Aquarius is coming. So 2007 April to 2007 July is like an interesting period. Looking at both of that. How is Vinchotri at that time? How is the Vinchotri Dasha? Is there any chance at all? The running Dasha is that of Ketu. Ketu is with moon. Okay, Ketu is the fifth lord from Cancer and he is with the Cancer lord. And what is the Antardasha running right now? Ketu, Jupiter is running now and Saturn is what we are interested in. Is Saturn capable of giving marriage? Yeah, seventh lord. Nothing really special. Maybe. We are not very happy. Okay. Now look at Viti Pravesh. That is the most important. Forget praying. First look at Viti Pravesh. We'll, maybe to somebody or maybe not to anybody. We'll figure out. But first let us see if there is a chance. If there is a reasonable chance, we will then suggest. Looking at the Nakshatra Dasha and Narayana Dasha, we see some of remarriage. How is the 2006 chart? No, who knows? Narayana Dasha of Ketugan also has some chance. Because Nakshatra Dasha says until 2007 July. So let us not jump to conclusions based on one technique. Let them... Who is the Hora Lord? Sun is the Hora Lord. Sun is the second Lord. And he is in the 10th house. Okay, let us leave it there. How is the second marriage? How do you see the second marriage? UL is first marriage. 8th from UL is Virgo. So Virgo will show the second marriage. It has Ketu in it. And its Lord is in the 8th house from it. And he is his son, the ruler of the year. How is Navamsha? Are there any important combinations in the second house showing second marriage? How is Navamsha? Well, Lagna has a nice Rajyoga between the Lagna Lord and the 9th Lord. So as far as dharmic activities are concerned, looks very interesting. But how is the second house? Anything going on there? Not really much, except that it has Agada from Jupiter and Mercury. Okay, let us come back to this. Let us see 2007, see if that is better. If not, we will come back to this. This is interesting enough. But who knows, next year may be more interesting. So if you look at the next year's chart, the Hora is that of Mars. And how is this year's chart? And when is the next year starting? April 24. Okay. How is this year's chart? Mars is the 7th and 12th Lord. He is in the 11th house. The second house of second marriage has Sun in it. Its Lord is in the 11th from it. And how is Venus? He is in the 3rd house. Is there any clear combination that shows you, yes, there is a second marriage? Honestly. Is there any indication of second marriage? Strong indication. Yeah, but this UL doesn't matter. But the second marriage, the 8th from UL matters. So again, Jupiter is there. In Rashi I am taking UL and 8th from UL. In Navamsha I am taking 8th from 7th house. Not 8th from UL in the Rashi chart. UL is in Aries. 8th from that is Scorpio. So Scorpio shows the second marriage in Rashi chart. In the Navamsha, 7th house is Scorpio. The 8th from that is second house. You see, Gemini. So I am taking Gemini. You see if there are any links between Gemini, Taurus. Taurus is Lagna. Basically, if there is a link, there is a second marriage during that year. So it doesn't seem very favorable, honestly. So go back to 2006. In that, are there any links? See, if there are any links between Lagna Lord and 7th Lord, we say marriage is coming, right? Similarly, any links between Lagna Lord and second Lord means second marriage is coming. Now, we didn't see anything like that in next year's chart. How is this year's chart? The second Lord Mars is in Lagna, with Lagna Lord Jupiter. And of course, they happen to be the 9th Lord, Mars and Ketu. So there is a nice yoga between Mars, Jupiter and Ketu. But the thing is, Navamsha. Yeah, I went back to 2006. I wasn't happy with 2007 at all. It doesn't seem that interesting. So I went back to 2006. So in this, second Lord Mars is in Lagna. And 9th Lord Jupiter and Mars and Ketu are in Lagna with Jupiter. So there is a nice Rajyoga with Jupiter, Mars, Ketu. Venus is aspecting them. And moreover, there is a linkage between the second and first houses. Second marriage and the person. The second spouse coming to the person. So there is a decent chance in this particular chart. And second marriage in the Rashi chart is shown by Virgo, like we said earlier. Mr. Ketu is there, and also the Lord is associated with the ruler of the year. So maybe there is a chance. Who is likely to get the second marriage? Why Jupiter? Well, he is the Lagna Lord in the 7th house. So Jupiter or Mars?
Mars is Mars.
Either, Jupiter or Mars. Have to really pick one of them. So Jupiter, Mars or Sun being the ruler of the year. So those are the candidates. So maybe later this year, October, November time frame, or probably better 2007 February. Why I said probably better?
Because that's where Aquarius.
That's it. Oh, no, that's something else. We are still in we are talking about Capricorn, end of Capricorn. So we are talking about Capricorn only. But why Jupiter? Why did I say Jupiter is? Because when Mars, Ketu and Jupiter are together, in Jupiter's sign, it is basically Jupiter's sign. He is not only the Lagna Lord in Lagna, but he is the dispositor of the second Lord. And moreover, if you look at the Rashi chart, where is Jewel? It is in Virgo. The Jewel is in Virgo, the second year, the 8th year. So from Virgo he is in the second house. So he is in the second house from Jewel, and here he is Lagna Lord in Navamsa. So he has a very good chance of giving. And also, compared to October, November time frame, February time frame has very good muhurta. We have to use that logic also. If somebody is from Purgatory, if they are from Cunningham, maybe you don't use that logic. They don't really care about that. But if somebody is from Purgatory, probably they look at Magmasam instead of getting married in Kartik Masam or some other Masam. So probably next February has a good chance. Next February, maybe Jupiter, Mars Antardasha, what do you think? But that is not Mars Masam. Well, maybe it is. You check all that. But bottom line is, next year is a reasonable chance. Now, if she really wants to get married, what should she do? Who are important for second marriage? Yeah? How do you see the second marriage in the Rashi chart? Capricorn, so fast on Saturday, and Lord of the second house. Who is the Lord of the second house? Saturn. He is stronger. So pray to Saturn. Who is Saturn? Venkateshwara. Let's say Venkateshwara. So on Saturday, fast on Saturday, at the end of the day, pray to Venkateshwara. And who knows if she does it? Capricorn that we talked about, Capricorn is running, that is also Saturn and sign. So again, Saturn is left. So she may end up getting married. So tell her to start fasting on Saturday and say to Venkateshwara at the end of the day and ask for second marriage. Since she has a good chance of getting married. Now, assuming she gets married again, are there any children from the second marriage? How do you see that? Actually, are there children from the first marriage? Very good. I'm very glad. Even though they were married for such a long time, but she didn't have any children. That is good. Because otherwise it's so terrible for the children. If there is a divorce, the people worst affected are children. Adults, whether they are together or separate, they are anyway unhappy. Their unhappiness will continue. But children unnecessarily they suffer in any divorce. So luckily there are no children in the first marriage. Why? Does it make some sense that there are no children in the first marriage? Is there any weakness? Yeah. You see the first child from Leo, right? So it would have been Sun. Sun is in Taurus, so it would have been a girl. But Rahu is there, so maybe Rahu did not let it start at all. Usually in such a case, there can be a child. Rahu may or may not stop, but in this case, he stopped. The bottom line is there is some weakness. We wanted to see if there is some weakness. Rahu in Leo, so maybe that is why it didn't happen. But how is the second marriage? Are there any problems, or how do you see the first child from the second marriage? Yeah? What are the rules? Now I will keep quiet. Or I will just keep asking questions. You have to find out. I will just how much you remember. At least one of you should remember. Who remembers? Okay. I think one of them is going to remember soon. We will wait. Okay, actually one of, not one of you, all of you should remember. Why is the fifth house, why does the fifth house show children? Because it is the 11th from the 7th house. It is the phala, the fruit, the certification of the 7th house, of the first marriage. First marriage basically fulfilling its objective. Now, how do you see the the first child from the second house? That is basically fulfillment of the second marriage.
Second from third.
Wait, don't be complicated. How do you see the second marriage in this chart? No, 7th house is the first marriage. Second marriage is 8th from there. So it is Taurus, second house, Taurus. So Taurus will show the second marriage. Now how do you see the fruits of Taurus? The 11th from it. Count it forward or backward? That is based on whether the sign is odd or even. Because Libra was odd, the first marriage, 7th house was odd, we counted 11th from it normally and we ended up in Leo. That showed the first side. But now the second marriage, Taurus, second house, is Leo. So we count backwards. We count backwards and we count 11 houses. So where do we end up? If you count backward from Taurus, there is the 11th house. Cancer, right. So Cancer will show the first child from the second marriage. Is it strong? Does it look like there will be a child from the second marriage? How is the sign? How is the Lord of the sign? He is in Mankaraka Sthana planet. He is in the 8th house planet. He is in Marga Sthana planet. He is with Ketu, restricted by Ketu. Unfortunately, doesn't exist. There may not be a child or there may be an abortion or some negativity is there. Unfortunately, there is some problem. If this lady needs children, if she wants children, something has to be done. If she gets married, assuming that she gets married next year, then we'll look at it again and give her some advice. If she does, she has to do something regarding the first child. Otherwise, something negative is quite positive. Okay?
She has to be abortion.
Oh, she did. Before, in the first marriage.
In the first marriage.
Okay. Interesting. So one was with Rahu, one was with Mars. Okay. So in the first marriage, she has an abortion. Now my theory is, what happened in the past may basically come back to haunt her. There may be more such. Because if there is a second marriage, the first pregnancy of the second marriage is very difficult to say. So Lord in the 8th itself is bad, Lord of the sign. And he being in the 8th, in Manakarthasthana is terrible. As if that's not enough, he is an equal sign, he is eclipsed by Ketu. Fully, the negative combinations are fully fortified. So it's very difficult to say. Serious remedial measures are needed in order for the first pregnancy to survive. So we will see that in case she gets married. But tell your sister to tell her that there is a good chance that she will get married next year. Do the prayers that we mentioned. And
Same goes here. Same Mars, same property.
pardon me?
Navamsha, Mars is a Nakaraka.
Yeah. Forget Navamsha and all that now. Just do Venkateswara and Yoga. That should be enough. Just do that and tell her that there is a big problem relating to the first child from the second marriage. So she should basically, even second child actually, to look at the third. Okay, actually second child is better compared to the first child. No, we have to take the third backward, right? Yeah, so we end up in Taurus. So the Lord is in the 12th from it with Mars. So again, two cases look quite bad. So it looks quite bad from the point of view of getting children. Even if she gets married again, there is a chance of 2 pregnancies, both being not so successful.
How about the next marriage? About this marriage?
You are just being unfair. The lady just got divorced. We are talking about her marriage.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Kumbha Vivaha or something.
Oh, you are suggesting Kumbha Vivaha so that even.
And then take the next one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then how do you see that? Excellent. How do you see the next marriage?
7th from 8th from Taurus, which is Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, so first child from
Circle is being odd, you take the forward for the take the element from where it is Libra. So the Mars, the Lord is in Lagna.
Lord is in Mankarka. Lord is in Margasthana from it with Mars, who is in Mankarka.
That is known house.
Yeah, still.
No.
Venus with Mars in a pregnancy, it can basically show a problem. But then Jupiter, the second one is Jupiter, Sagittarius. That has a good chance. That is good. So again, even if there is a Kumbhavaha, the first one is difficult. But I won't really advise Kumbhavaha just based on Sattamsa. You can do some remedies or who knows, maybe for now. But Navamsa looks fine. Cancer looks fine. So she can stick to that, but the only thing is, when she gets married, tell her that before she attempts to get any children, she should do some puja. Some pujas, homas, etc. have to be done. Otherwise, she seems to be quite unlikely with respect to children. So we will tell her that, and if needed, we will take up the chart again and say more specifically what she needs to do. Okay, but we will stop here just by mentioning that there is some problem with respect to children. But there is a good chance of remarriage next year. So after to start looking. Okay, so I will start this. Or maybe it's over. I think I started both. I think that's more. One of them is fine. So we will end for today. Have a fun-filled or pressure-filled 2 weeks, and we'll meet on June 4. Okay. Until then, if you have any questions, if you listen to old lessons and if you have any questions, you can bring them in the June 4. Okay. We'll end today in the class today. Oh.